similar question to my previous question about the UN is, can this be reformed, this institution, given that we are talking about de-radicalization? That is an important part. And I just, as an additional note, mentioned that the reason the Abraham Accords were pulled off is because the American team, led by Jared Kushner, identified that a lot of these Muslim majority countries, as well as Israel, not only did they have in common the enemy of Iran, they had in common the enemy of radical Islam. And the Saudis, the Emiratis, they've been very good on DRAD projects, and they've been better even than the British have been on DRAD projects. Is UNRWA the vehicle for that DRAD in the future, or is it so corrupt that it's irredeemable?
It's irredeemable, and I'm saying this as the head of an organization, UN Watch, that has been working for a decade. For 10 years, we wrote to UNRWA. We didn't say UNRWA should be destroyed. We said, here are a dozen of your teachers, here are 20 of your teachers, 30 of your teachers who are calling to slaughter Jews in the name of Islam and jihad and Allah. They are teachers in Lebanon, in the West Bank, in Jordan, and so forth. Do something. Fire them. In any other country, if someone were embracing Adolf Hitler, as a number of UNRWA people did on their Facebook pages, then they would never be allowed to go before a classroom again. Fire them. And they didn't do it. And they attacked us. They did everything to frustrate our minimal scrutiny that we applied. And so we came to the conclusion, after a decade of trying to work with them, that UNRWA is a pathological agency. It is, as you said, the inversion of an agency that's supposed to promote peace and end conflict. It's the opposite of that. It is the fuel of conflict. It is telling Palestinians it's not about a two-state solution. It's not about rebuilding Gaza. It's about destroying Israel, returning to Israel and destroying Israel. And the question comes back to what I said before. I said there's a charitable interpretation that some of the donor states, many of the donor states, may believe there's stability. But then there's the interpretation that's less charitable, which is that they understand what is the agenda of UNRWA. They understand very well because they spend time, their diplomats spend time with these people, and they know exactly what they say. And they know that UNRWA is telling Palestinians in Lebanon, in Jordan, in the West Bank, in Gaza, that one day your mission is to dismantle Israel, and they know it, and they're funding it. That is another option, which is a very scary option to think about our own countries. But I have to tell you that no foreign ministry, not the Canadian foreign ministry, not the Brits, the French, the Australians, none of them has ever reached out to us and said, wow, we're giving tens of millions of dollars to this agency. Hillel, can you give us a bit more information? None of them has ever approached us once.
Forgive me if this is beyond your remit, but what would be an appropriate vehicle for DRAD?
So we recognize that UNRWA is the last agency that could do de-radicalization. And what could? Well, certainly getting the good stakeholders involved. If you get the Emirates involved, they're Arab country, they're proud Arabs and Muslims who truly do believe in building a future,
yes,
a positive, productive, responsible future. Having the Arabs in the region, whether it's in Gaza or elsewhere, be productive and responsible. If you get the positive players involved, I think we could see positive results. There are Palestinians, some of them, there's not many of them, but who openly speak out against Hamas. They exist. We have to work with them. There are Israeli Arabs. You can work with them. There are things that could be done, but you need to start working with the players who are truly committed to a peaceful future.
I've got a question that is somewhat tangential, but pertains to your work at the sort of exposing the UN. You mentioned very briefly in passing the UNHCR. I have actually, in the past many years ago, supported them, particularly in their work with Syrian refugees in Jordan. And I just wondered whether an institution like that is functional and doing good. And is that the sort of counterexample where perhaps the UN, it's not a complete write-off, that they are doing some good work, or are we seeing similar problems with that institution?
Well, I'll be the first to say that the UN is a huge organization, and there are many agencies that we need. They may be imperfect, they may be flawed, they may be deeply flawed. I just spoke to someone who used to work at UNHCR, and this person was just beside himself at the problems there and how bureaucratically corrupt it is and people interested in their careers and things like that. So it's a severely flawed agency, but we need an agency like that will look out for refugees. There are millions of refugees around the world, and you need an agency that will go on the ground. And despite all their flaws, we need something. And if you don't have UNHCR, you're going to have other agencies. So there are many UN agencies that we're going to need. We're going to need a World Health Organization, even though the Chinese, we have to recognize the Chinese have subverted it in significant ways. Certainly with Dr. Tedros on COVID, but even before that. And so, in Geneva, where I'm based, there's a telecommunications union and there's International Labor Organization and a number of these agencies we need, but you need to look at them critically and you need to ask if they're fit for purpose. And you need to, if there's major flaws, you need to speak openly about it. Many of the donor states don't want to do it. They're part of the system and they don't want to be critical in any way. That's wrong.
Wow, it's unbelievably disheartening speaking to you. But what is heartening is that you have exposed this and you've spoken so clearly now. I've had a couple of episodes on this stuff, but I, for the first time, really feel like I understand it in a way I didn't before. And frankly, it makes me feel like the UN is just an abomination, really. And perhaps that's unfair, but the way you've described it, it's even surprising to me that Netanyahu would go to the UN General Assembly like he did a few weeks ago in New York. And I mean, at the very least, one might say that at least there's somewhere where everyone's coming together to talk.
Yes.
That's a minimum.
Well, one future for the UN might be, because we're in a moment where the U.S. administration could very well do big things with the UN. Could tell the UN to leave New York. Who knows what they may want to do? But
is that actually a conversation?
I think I don't know if it's at the serious level yet, but I think it's something that may be proposed. And one question is, as you said, to have a world forum where leaders meet. Everyone should support that. And as Churchill said, it's better to have jaw than war. I'm in full agreement with that. One proposal might be to have the UN be a body where it's a forum where world leaders can meet, can try to make peace, and the UN can try to facilitate that, but is not a body that adopts resolutions. Why should the UN be adopting resolutions when most of them are against the West, targeting Israel, are supported by Iran and Cuba and all the others? Maybe the UN loses the power to adopt resolutions and is just a forum where people can actually come together and have dialogue and try to increase peace and reconciliation in the world.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this clip from the Winston Marshall Show. You can click here to watch the full episode, and for more clips like this one, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, be well.